when we think about recovery, and I think when we think of healthcare in general, we think of the four walls of the healthcare ecosystem. Hospitals, clinics, those sometimes sterile environments that we find ourselves in when we're trying to make a meaningful change in our lives. I think one of the really cool things that my care team was very intentional about when I was getting sober was the importance of the other full legs of the recovery stool, as I call it, and that's a safe and stable place to live, a recovery-ready home, um, a strong care team, of course, but also a big part of that is just a sense of purpose.
Welcome to another Hope, Power, and Healthcare with Chris Hemphill and
Chris Hemphill's amazing podcast host, Melissa Riley.
yes, the amazing. Oh my goodness, I'm so glad to be on the journey with you. Thanks for letting me come on the show every once in a while.
Yeah, you're allowed. You've done a good job last year, so you can keep coming back.
All right, we've renewed the contract. Well, folks, so we did a little bit different today. We started off with a segment of a conversation, a literally gorgeous conversation that we had with Ben Gonzalez, who is the system lead for behavioral health at Geisinger Health System. And we don't like being mired in just talking about spreadsheets and data and what's the fuel behind the things that we're doing. So Ben was actually talking about his recovery journey with substance use disorder, and ultimately how photography, art, and all that played into his recovery journey, along with the healthcare leadership that he's doing in behavioral health right now. So thank you for joining us with this. We wanted to share some reactions to that to that video afterwards, but we'll just go ahead and play it. For our people who might be listening to the podcast, this is one that you might want to watch, because we're not just talking about photography. We're showing some beautiful artwork here. So if you can find the Hope, Power, and Healthcare YouTube, find this episode and watch it on YouTube, just so you can see the awesome shots of Greece and other localities, and some videos of seals and dolphins that we took at the near the Behavioral Health Tech Conference. There's a lot more to us than what we do daily at work, and both of us have fancy cameras. You can see one of them, and you can see the result of the other.
Yep, just lugging this thing all over the place on Anacapa Island here. Thankfully, it's not a large island, but yeah, definitely might have some back pain after today.
Yes, yeah.
So,
I had
well worth it.
Being 40, I had some back pain before today, but that's a subject for a different conversation. Gosh, man, yeah, Behavioral Health Tech Conference. It's Ben Gonzalez, operations lead for behavioral health at Geisinger, and Chris Hemphill. I don't know, Modular Feedback. That's the company that I run right now. We do our overall goal is to help reclaim the algorithm, and that just really means, rather than big tech's goals of getting people to click on things and sell ads, what if we use these approaches to identify ways to help people get better, identify pathways that help them in their lives. But yeah, just wanted to talk about photography with you, man.
Yeah. Oh, it's interesting. All of this really is tied to what brought me to behavioral health in the first place. For me, it's been a bit of an odyssey. I think I shared with you, I have an agriculture degree, and the way I found my way to healthcare was my own recovery 11 years ago. And coincidentally, that's also how I found the passion of photography, in particular landscape photography. So I think I first found myself really getting into it after Young People in Recovery conference in Denver, and afterwards my dad and I went to a national park that we frequented a lot when I was a kid, called Rocky Mountain National Park. So found myself being obsessed with the composition just with my iPhone, and slowly but surely upgraded from an entry-level Nikon to now this massive full frame beast. And so it's been a lot of fun. I think much like my professional odyssey, my recovery odyssey, it's taken on a life of its own, and has really made trips like this a whole lot more special and a creative endeavor at the same time. So one that maybe we can start sharing a little bit more in places like this, huh?
Yeah. We're about to speak at this conference, and we didn't want to just be all in the hubbub and the social environment, everything like that, and we have this shared joy for taking snappies. But gosh, I think that your joy for it goes a lot deeper than mine, and I would love to hear about how it's related to your recovery journey.
Yeah, sure. I mean, so when we think about recovery, and I think when we think of healthcare in general, we think of the four walls of the healthcare ecosystem, hospitals, clinics, those sometimes sterile environments that we find ourselves in when we're trying to make a meaningful change in our lives. I think one of the really cool things that my care team was very intentional about when I was getting sober was the importance of the other full legs of the recovery stool, as I call it, and that's a safe and stable place to live, a recovery-ready home, a strong care team, of course, but also a big part of that is just a sense of purpose. And obviously I had that in the workplace, but there's that old adage of you don't live to work, you work to live ultimately. And I think for me, this work has really enabled me to live what we call in the recovery world a self-directed life. So between day trips to Cape May, close to where I live in Philadelphia, to 2-week trips to Greece and the Cycladic Islands, this way of living has afforded me the stability, the meaning, and not to mention the funds to support this awesome hobby that's just become a passion of mine. So yeah, it's become a really important part of my life, and not to mention it's made for some really great house decor in our home, so works out well.
Yeah, the beauty of being on these journeys with Ben is hearing stories about when people are kind to him. People can repay in money and meals and things like that, but you have an awesome gift to be able to repay in art.
Yeah.
So I would love to hear about how some of the photography has inspired or impacted other people in your life.
Yeah. Well, I think it's mostly been the people that come along with me on these journeys, or people that share important places with me, places that they have a love for, they have an important memory, an important moment in their life. One recently worked with a physician at Geisinger who is originally from Greece, and I was there for 2 weeks over the summer with my better half, and we ended up staying for a couple days on her favorite island in the Cyclades, and I love long exposure photography in particular. It's just it's really slow paced. You get the time to really take the time to enjoy it.
Well, what is long exposure photography?
Yeah, sure.
Because one thing I'm curious about is there's a whole lot going on when you're taking pictures, and like when you're looking at all that, there's a whole lot of art behind it. Just curious about.
Yeah, sure. So long exposure photography basically just means the shutter is open for a very long time. So it's capturing all of the movement, the changes, all within one shutter, as opposed to a movie, right? We're used to multiple exposures, right? Very, very short amount of time where you're basically freezing the subject. That's not the goal of long exposure photography. You want some things frozen, like your main subject. So for me, that's usually a building or a geographic feature, but things like water or clouds or the lights from cars. Those parts are moving, and you can play some really, really fun tricks with the light and the things that are moving. And so, I know one thing that Chris and I did last night is we stopped on an overpass overlooking Los Angeles, and one of the freeways was going into the city. So you had these awesome streaks of red light flowing into the city that just look kind of surreal, almost futuristic and alien-like. So anyways,
Well, like when you say surreal and futuristic, I just want to actually impart that on the description of long exposure photography itself, because if we were talking about videos like what we're watching right now, you're watching us over a span of time. But when you're talking about long exposure photography, you're doing the reverse of that and compressing time and movement
into
all
one
into
frame.
one frame. That's really crazy to me.
Yeah. And I think the other thing I like a lot about it is it can take a relatively mundane scene and really make it unique. Not to mention, if you have 20, 30, 60, 120 seconds in each exposure, gives you a little bit more time to actually sit there and enjoy it.
Yeah.
So, and it forces you to actually take the time to get a solid composition. Whereas if you're just running and gunning with, doing like five frames a second, something like that, it's a little bit more difficult to enjoy and get something that's special. So
Yeah.
But anyway, so back to my friend in Greece.
Oh yeah.
I took some awesome long exposure photographs, some of my favorites that I've ever done, and it was just so cool to see her get the enjoyment out of seeing a place that she shared with me and that she has some really formative memories of. A lot of my early trips were with my mother in particular, so we have quite a few photographs from our trips around the national parks in California that are hanging in her home that I think are just really core memories for our relationship. So
Fabulous.
And so yeah, that's just grown into a lot of my other relationships because people know that I have this passion. People know that I love sharing the result of these trips, especially when somebody rides shotgun. I guess you're one of those people now too. So,
Yeah.
But thankfully, you're going to be able to take some of your own memories with you and maybe have some artwork for your own home out of that trip to LA.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to you having taught me long exposure photography last night. That's good. That's something that I can take with me for the rest of my life.
Yeah, well, Detroit and Atlanta will both be solid places
Yes.
for cityscapes. So, yeah.
So we reflected on photography and its relationship to your recovery, but I wonder too, like when you're the mindset that you're bringing to photography, does that impact anything in your healthcare leadership?
Yeah, so I think one thing that this is something that my better half has been trying to impart on me, and that's to not take things so seriously. I'm a bit obsessive with my photography, and there have been times in the past where I would for example, you guys can't see this, but we have a beautiful background that maybe you can see some
it
of it.
might be blown out.
Yeah, it's probably blown out. But even if you could see it perfectly, you'd see it's pretty hazy. We're on Anacapa Island and Channel Islands National Park. It's probably one of the least visited national parks, and Anacapa is the closest island to Oxnard and Ventura here in California. And usually I'm sure it's pretty clear, but it's pretty hazy back here. So in the past, I would let that aspect that's completely out of my control ruin this trip, right? It's like, oh, it's not the perfect photograph. It's not going to be what I envisioned and this expectation that I had ahead of time. And I think more and more in the workplace, it's and it's interesting. This is also a concept from recovery, accepting the things that we can't change. So I think at this point, I'm at a point in my career where I've learned to not sweat the small stuff. One of my mentors, Don Ziegler, also is just saying, "Let the game come to you." So a little bit of patience goes a long way too. I think the other part is just try to enjoy the ride too. Behavioral health is not for the weak of heart. It's really difficult, huge resource constraints. We have a ton of work to do and a ton of outstanding need. But if you don't take some time to just enjoy the ride, just like, if I didn't take some time to look over, the edge of this camera and actually enjoy the scene from outside of looking through the camera, that would really be a disappointment. So I think that's been the big lesson for me is take some time to enjoy the scenery and enjoy the ride. and don't worry about things you can't control so much.
I've been feeling that too. Just with photography, if you are like you see a lot of times, I'll take pictures at conferences, but on the boat ride over here, there were whales and dolphins and all kinds of things popping in and out.
Lions,
Yes,
all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
you have no idea what's popping up and when. And for me, if I'm spending way too much time scrutinizing, beating up the conditions and waiting for perfect and everything like that, that was a humpback whale that just like surfaced from the water, and I was like concentrating on some minute detail. So that it's an ongoing lesson for me. Like I don't like being away from my camera for too long, because it is that reminder that if you're waiting for perfection, you're gonna miss something that was great and gorgeous and beautiful. And that's,
you know what? Even if you didn't get the best shot or a shot, period, there's still a wonderful experience there. And so, for me, I mean, it's about the balance of the experience and the creative endeavor, and not letting the latter get the better of the former.
Well, man, thanks for sitting down. Again, Ben, it's just been an awesome sharing this trip with you. You had this beautiful idea to come to this island. I'm glad that you brought me along.
Yeah.
One thing that like, as you keep track of what Ben's doing, follow him on LinkedIn and everything like that. But we are sharing as Geisinger makes its transition along into coordinated care models and empanelment. We're sharing the types of things that are driving either successes or warning stories along the way, just to be able to help others who are trying to follow on that path down, path to that kind of care.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun journey. So, I mean, at BHT, we're really just sharing kind of a primer and a bit about our odyssey the last 4 or 5 years. And the reason I say odyssey is because it's been winding. It hasn't been straight. It hasn't been, completely linear or vertical progress, but we've learned a lot along the way, and we look forward to sharing that. It should be fun.
Thank you so much, Ben. Thank you for agreeing to this interview that you only knew about 10 seconds ahead.
Hey.
It didn't take any kind of cajoling, and I was like, let's just do this out here. Yeah. So
there's worse places. So we'll see. I think San Diego will be a close second. So, but it's been a beautiful day, and it'll be a special memory, my friend. So thanks for coming along for the ride.
Thank you much, buddy.
It's been good.
Love you.
All right, Melissa, just watching the video and kind of understanding the intersection of art and his recovery and all that. What is your initial reaction to seeing that?
I just felt like it's so on brand. It's on vibe for you and I when we think about how I think we both have been designing our life intentionally in 2025. This idea that you're not one-dimensional, and that while you're working, you are still able to, express yourself or build a life of travel. I mean, look at the two of you. You were at a conference, one of the conferences where I feel like is the most packed, where you could be at the conference doing activities and networking 24/7, for the full 3 days. And yet you had a break to kind of step away, have this moment together, still talk about mental health, but be in nature. And I just think that's incredibly admirable, both that you've brought so much intentionality into your worlds, but that it's not one-dimensional.
I like that concept too, and really I like something that we were talking about a little bit earlier, which is that we're always talking about work-life balance or work-life integration, etc. But hearing it from Ben, it was a reminder that when you're at a conference like Behavioral Health Tech face to face with people, a lot of the reason and a lot of the inspiration why people are developing these digital mental health pathways are deep experiences that they've had. So for Ben to open up about his journey and how important it was to make sure that there was secure housing and things like that, and then relate that to photography and then all the things that he's doing today, it was just a powerful reminder that, gosh, like when I'm walking around at Behavioral Health Tech and I see people with those blue badges and I know that they're part of that conference, I know that there are deep stories as to why they devoted their lives into working in the digital mental health space, and a lot of times it's because of traumatic or powerful personal experiences.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we can talk deeper about like what inspired both of us to make mental health such a core element to our lives. But and what is interesting is that it is not single threaded. So even though he's got a very impressive, powerful role at Geisinger, look how he's thoughtful about integrating his whole self and kind of bringing his whole self plus his artistic side to work, and to his travels. And so I think you carry that element of your, I don't know, your essence or all your life experiences into your job sometimes. And I think the people that are able to fully integrate that, fully incorporate that, are better at what they do. They have a little bit more compassion for people as they go through their healthcare journeys, which we know, are not easy. Like healthcare, when you're in the healthcare system, it's really hard. And I think that's part of why you and I are so, intentional about trying to bring a little bit of hope out there when it sometimes seems really bleak.
Let's reflect back too. Let's reflect back on last week's episode with Dr. Sarah Adler and the way that she leads a company where people are that she as far as the emotional and psychological security to bring your whole self, she lives that not just for herself but for all of her employees. And it was amazing to see. Like I really think that folks like her, and honestly folks like you, are setting the future for how people are able to show up to work and be real about who they are and how that impacts everything else that they're doing.
Well, I think that you're touching a little bit on like the idea of authenticity, right? And I think you and I gravitate towards people that are authentic and are their whole selves. And so if we're spending 40 or sometimes 60, maybe 80 hours at a work or a project or trying to advance a ball somewhere, man, I know that I'm really hopeful that people are being real with me, and I'll get that human element of them, not just their work quote unquote persona.
Yeah, that's a great point. And honestly, I just had a conversation with a data scientist that I used to work with a few years ago, and like I just remember like when you can strip away all the things that are that like all of the kind of like corporate personality of the show that we have to put on, like that's when the best work starts coming out. So really wanted to say a big thank you to Ben for sharing his personal journey. And another thing that's happening too at Geisinger is he's leading he's helping to lead a move around coordinated care and collaborative care, like this kind of team based. Yeah. So
I love high performing team based models.
Well, I've had the luxury and privilege of being embedded with him, Don Ziegler, Robin on their team as well. Like kind of seeing this come into play, seeing how they're involving clinicians in measurement based care and stuff like that. And maybe on the air right here, Melissa, I think we should help them track that journey, because like Ben, like part of the purpose of even going to behavioral health tech was to make it known how Geisinger is taking this approach while they're doing it. And I don't know, like in a few months' time, there's going to be some advancement on that project. Maybe we bring some of their other folks in and have some discussions about it.
I would love that. Geisinger is one of my favorite health systems. I'm trying to reflect back on the book that was written about Geisinger. So when we think about like the people we meet at conferences and the things we do at conferences, I met one of the former Geisinger executives. I don't remember if it was at Aspen Ideas or whether it was one of the kind of like the more of the weekendy type retreat conferences. And I'll have to find the book and we'll have to post it up. But like Geisinger itself has this very, very rich history of being incredibly innovative and patient-centric. It's one of my favorite systems. And so would love to, stay along on the journey with them and learn as they're learning. I don't know that I would say like collaborative care is novel, but I bet there are novel ways that they are enabling, unlocking collaborative care with some awesome lessons that others would love to benefit from.
Yeah, that's 100%. Like, because we come up with a word, but it's not equally applied and not the same everywhere. And honestly, I was talking to frequently mentioned but not yet a guest, Dr. Sam Nordberg, about some of the some of their approaches, and he said that he had admired their tactic and they were using some best practices, especially with involving clinicians in making the big decisions around measurement based care. So really want to really happy that you're down to like make more of that journey broadcast.
Totally. And I mean, I think I glossed over it, but like huge props to um, anyone kind of living a recovery journey. I don't even know my right terminology. My brain has not woken up for the new year, but I just
Also need some coffee.
I think, well, just another Celsius would be amazing, and they still don't sponsor this show, but would be so good.
We're gonna make a competing brand, Fahrenheit, and we'll
Yeah.
see how we... Go ahead. Sorry.
My passion for those working in the substance use disorder space and those that have walked through an addiction journey. When I think of the companies we are so proud to support over at Stealth that, focus on addiction and recovery and innovation. I love our people out there that have struggled through something and have built back their life better, because we know the addiction journey can be so damaging.
Yeah, and on it, well, like Ben, I hate to ruin your career with this one, but like in our conversations, he's so passionate.
His career.
Well, it's
Okay.
not. I'm joking. I'm saying I'm being the most facetious possible with that statement, but no, he's so passionate that like even when offered roles that are outside of behavioral health that might even have more dollars tied to it, like that's not why he's in the business. It's all about like taking like his energy comes from like knowing where he was with his journey and being able to make the right services, the right access available to other people who might be struggling. That's where his passion comes from, all the way top and down.
Interesting. Chris, have you ever said no to a job because it wasn't in the zone that you wanted to work in?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like it just doesn't make sense you're going to be devoting 40 to 60 to 80 hours a week and everything like that. And it's not a subject that you're passionate about. It's impossible to, I don't know. Like I know other people can swallow it down, but I just can't. I can't work on something that I'm not like in on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that is because I still contend that you are a well integrated live to work human, right? So you've nicely incorporated all the parts of Chris, into your work journey, but at the core, like, if given the opportunity to retire, I don't think you're doing it.
No. I feel too good about what I'm too excited about this kind of discovery journey that I'm on with this type of work. And honestly, a little bit later in the episode, I'd love to talk about the personal impact that even working in digital mental health has had with me. But I want to throw that to you too, Melissa. As far as like you've been in the industry, titan of the industry, if I must say. But what has being like work what has working with so many companies and even working in the payer space on mental health, what has that taught you or brought to your own mental health perspective and journey?
Yeah, so interesting. I think I've touched on this story maybe a little bit before. Maybe even in our first episode together, like when I was competing with Sam Norberg. Shout out again to Sam Norberg.
The most shouted out person on the podcast, by the way.
Yeah, he loves that. He texted me that. No. I got into this space very, very early on, and because of my nephew, and because I saw my sister be an incredible advocate for my nephew really, really early on when ABA was just kind of emerging. And now I just got to see my nephew. He lives in California. it's amazing. Like he is a driving teenager and he's so engaged in the world and has friends and has this social life. And those were all things that my sister, she'll probably kill me for this, like really worried about when
Just
he
for
first.
the audience, that like this is your nephew who was struggling with autism early, and how many years ago what was?
My sister got the diagnosis when he was maybe just under 2.
Mm.
And one of the things I mean, maybe you all have assumed about me is I come from a deep line of healthcare navigators. Like everyone is ninjas. They're like, oh, oh, we have this problem. How must we solve it? Well, let's pull all the resources at our very disposal and let's figure out the course of treatment. Like no one's doctors, but we might as well be. And if healthcare gets in our way, we're going to destroy them. So
Get
that,
in,
yeah.
yes.
So my sister, we were fortunate to be in Connecticut. Shout out again to Yale and their early childhood education. I've told this story. There is a wonderful ABA therapist, Mr. Tim, who would come in, and my nephew got 40 hours of ABA therapy kind of in home, while my nephew was 2. And it just changed the trajectory of I think for his life and even for our families that, if you aren't looking for these things, there's not like a magic golden yellow brick road that pops out and says, follow this path when you're in this situation. And I think that just kind of inspired me to say healthcare needs to get easier. And the people that are making healthcare easier are usually the people that are in the innovation groups that the payers are partnering with the payers, right? It's not a single threaded, and the providers, like it's not a single threaded action. It actually takes multiple elements of the system combining together. I'm getting off my soapbox, I promise, to make this thing better. But the problem I consistently saw is that no one was acting as a translation layer between these parts. So left alone, there would be like 8 roads and the roads would never merge into an interstate. In fact, no one wanted to be an interstate. There was no aligned incentives to craft an interstate. The roads would just wander on forever, to kill this horrible road metaphor.
I don't think it's horrible at all. It's very visual, because we know, like there's another metaphor, the Winchester House, where a bunch of doors are made to rooms, and they just kind of rooms to nowhere, roads to nowhere, and things like that. And you saw a very real impact of the right type of therapy being applied, and saw that had a powerful result, and it sounded like that was something that you wanted to amplify in your career.
Yeah, I think it's something I literally, I don't know that I think about it every day, but this idea that like if left alone, all these people would atrophy in rooms or on roads by themselves. I just think that mission, I think will be my forever mission to say, well, how can you unite this? And what I learned is I can actually sit anywhere and influence the people to work more interconnected or more interdependent or more interoperable, depending if you like that word. I can do it from the payer side. I can do it from the startup side. I can do it from the provider side. That gets to be my choice. And so that's me, on a hike next week at JPM, still figuring out how to thread the system together.
Wait,
Cool.
is that a preview? Are you going to be hiking?
I am totally going to be hiking at J. You inspired me. I actually already had the plan, but I'm like, yeah, now this is the thing.
Yeah.
Do the conference, have an adventure. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Get that moment of calm, get that moment of peace before the conference. It was so valuable to me and Ben. We were nervous about our speech, and like just being, like, we spent a couple of days together. We went on a little vacation, I would say. But that was really cool.
I love this. I try to do this too. I try to get the people that I really adore together when we're visiting cities for these behavioral health events.
That's how to do it. I wanted to ask too. So I'm reviving the highway analogy, like getting like being the road coordinator, getting these things to start singing with each other and synchronizing with each other. Have there been moments where you saw what was going on, or you learned something that then you took back to your own personal mental health journey?
Yes. Yeah. Great. Excellent questions. Okay. I think you asked me, have I hit have I hit any forks in the road, or have I hit any dead ends? And then how have I like introspected on this, and I actually think more so than ever. And I think um, the biggest learning over the last 2 years is that there are no road that you're stuck on. Like I think in the past I would have been like, I am walking the yellow brick road and I'm going to get to the wizard, right? And come hell or high water, I am meeting that wizard. I think now I have a little bit more of like, I'm going to really go nuts on the analogies today. Route re-guidance opportunities. I think I'm more intentional now about like pulling back and saying, ways, what are the 4 routes I could now take to get to this spot? And actually, do I even want to go see the wizard? Right? I'm like, let me get the hell out of Oz, right? And so I'm not going there anymore. And I think that has brought me way more levels of joy. And I think for this year, I've noticed a terrible phone addiction over the break. Like my little guy was like, "Oh, mom, you always have your phone with you." So I'm really trying to be, and I don't know how good I'll do. It's only day 6 of the year. I think for my mental health purposes, I'm trying to put my phone away a little bit more and be more present on the roads or in Oz, or when I read guidance out of the roads. I'm like, oh, what is this telling me? And like, let me get out of my phone so I can be present in the moment.
I think so. Phone addiction, is that a symptom or the disease?
Oh God, I think it's both, right?
Um, what would you say? What would you say would be a root cause of phone addiction?
Mm, I think it depends on my circumstance, right? Like, definitely think there's an anxiety calming function of like, oh my God, I'm missing something. And if I'm on my phone and I'm connected, I won't miss something. And, if a client has an issue, I'll be able to triage it, right? So there's definitely some um, anxiety component, I guess, in it. But I also know, going back to our favorite algorithm, like the algorithms are designed to keep me coming back. And for someone I think that seeks dopamine a little bit, I like that little button that in the notifications that pop up, and I'm like, ooh, what new adventure will be I encountering when this thing flashes? But
I
sometimes the greatest adventure is right in front of me. It's not on my phone.
Yeah, that's a good point. We could reframe the loss and anxiety that we have missing something that's happening here with, well, what about the loss of missing something that's happening here?
Here, even the virtual here.
Yeah. Okay. We'll admit that we're not like in person, although that was a great first conversation that we had.
What about you? What about you?
Me.
Like, same question back to you.
Okay. Well, so I'm going to take the conversation to a little bit dark place. I've spoken about my friend Coco, Courtney Ashley, before, who was murdered in Birmingham by an abusive domestic partner. That he had well-known, documented mental health issues, didn't have access to the help that he needed, and ultimately that resulted in him murdering her, a friend of hers, and then himself all in the same day. This was in, I believe, 2021, before any involvement in the digital mental health space. I was completely not there. And I still went to work. Like after someone called me and told me about this in detail, I still went to work the next day. And I went and the only real thing that I did to recover out, I really brush it under the table. I didn't realize how bad I was doing in my response to this. Like, she had introduced me to this David Bowie album, Earthling. It was one of the greatest David Bowie albums. And I went on a long run, ran hard. Like, that's the kind of thing that anytime I'm processing, it's get out, run aggressively, like get all the anger and hurt, like turn that into just getting out in the streets. It's just one way that I process and deal. but gosh, didn't realize how much damage I was doing just by like continuing to push on. Then get into this company, Wobot, in 2022. And part of the charter was like that they had 1.5 million users at the time, and part of the charter of being brought in there was to understand what the conversation flows and patterns were at scale across these large swaths of users. And that's when I started realizing that, you know, by using like, this is a reflection of using natural language processing and AI methods to understand these conversations. What, like, if people were talking to Wobot, it was because they were having issues with severe anxiety, depression challenges, like keeping them from being able to go about their day. And by understanding that there were so many people processing grief or dealing with all kinds of like stress around medical issues, financial issues, and stuff like that, it was kind of my, like, I'd heard about depression and anxiety and things like that. I didn't really have a deep understanding of it until like really sifting through all these conversation patterns and realizing like how people were handling and processing these issues. So go ahead.
Oh, I have questions. Sorry. Okay, so did you apply for Wobot or did they recruit you?
You met my one of my best friends, Shatal Shah.
Yeah.
I had worked with him at a prior company, and he was just so ecstatic about the work that they were doing and enabling by giving people access to a mental health support on their phone. And it was just, I was like, Shatal, what you got for me? What you got?
Yeah.
Let's yeah.
Influenced you into the space. Okay.
Yes.
And then
yes,
you got in there and you were like, "Ooh, this is intriguing. I'm learning things." Right?
Yeah, it started a really powerful personal journey, because there's not just like the realization of the way that I really should, and plus it didn't come from just analyzing the data. It came from the fact that Dr. Ali Darcy, Dr. Trina Histon, Valerie Hoffman, who supports the show. Yeah. Like all these people around me who had deep background in psychology and stuff like that. I'm just constantly like learning from them. And it's like reflection of like, hey, here's what I'm learning from the data. And they're reflecting back on what the true insights are. So
There's good people in mental health. They're really, I mean, I think that keeps us staying, right? The humans keep us, it's such a nice community. That's probably the nicest community. If women's health is very on par, I think, but the mental health community is very special.
So I think it's because people have a deep personal stake in it. It's not somebody at Goldman Sachs who just sees an opportunity, a financial revenue opportunity. Like people like Ben, they're really wanting to that they've gone
make it better.
Yeah. But to cap off on this one, I think the biggest change that I saw was like, you know, understanding, well, like one thing that was consistently showing up was that in every market that we were analyzing, in the top 10 concerns that were bringing people to the application, and this was just looking at the conversation flows and patterns, it was consistent that people had fears around medical issues and surgeries that had been brought up by their care providers. And then like when I noticed that my mom, who was like, I was on vacation in California at the time, and she was about to undergo a surgery. And when I heard the anxiety in her voice when she was talking about it, it just reminded me of all the millions of conversations that were around that very same subject. And that was my trigger to know that, hey, drop the vacation, get to Mobile, Alabama, and be at her side by that. And I just feel like I wouldn't have known that, known that how important and powerful that would be without having worked in the digital mental health space. Yeah,
and like really analyze that data that says having caregiver support is so meaningful.
Oh yeah. And the like she's a retired nurse. And she like when I got there, my dad was there too, and she reflected like how important it is when she's in the hospital to have that team by her. And my sister lives hours away, and I was like it's not necessarily the most convenient thing, but like to know the power that brings. And you're from a family of care navigators, so it was a powerful reflection and learning about like that family component to healthcare.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is the caregiving. So many of us are caregivers right now in the sandwich generation, caring for younger kids or partners, and then um, having aging parents that are going on these journeys. And healthcare, I think, has only gotten more increasingly complex with the personalized medicine and the genomic testing. And it just requires a different skill set in caregiving. I mean, you're in total Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like, is the food and shelter all taken care of? And then can you afford these treatments that are ahead of you? And what are the treatments? And if there's different roads you could walk down, there's just a lot ahead of this caregiving journey.
That kind of ties it all the way back to Ben Gonzalez and that team-based approach where it's not just primary care throwing people over the line to behavioral health. It's them working together as a team. They'll take on, it'll be a team that's assigned to a geographic area in central Pennsylvania. So they know kind of the ins and outs, the economies, the needs of the folks in that area, and they can really come together and coordinate on the approach as a whole person care perspective.
Yeah, sounds amazing. I'm excited to kind of hear more.
Bef-
And as we think about, I don't know if it's good to transition in, right? But like, okay, so we've kind of taken a look back on like why
Well,
we're where we are. More to say
before,
there?
yeah, just with the transition, just wanted to hear from our fam, like if there are stories about why you're in this space, be it in the digital mental health space or another area of health tech or medicine. If there's any personal stories or journeys of what brought you there or what being here has taught you, share them with
What
us.
keeps you there?
Yeah, what keeps you here?
What
Yeah.
keeps you here?
I just wanted to get that request out to
Yeah.
the fam before our transition.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. Yeah, what keeps you here? What brought you here? What keeps you here? Because they may not be the same.
That's true.
Yeah. So, Chris, your Wobot journey has, adjusted. Now you've got modular feedback and these amazing adventures with payers. And so, what keeps you here?
Gosh, there is there's a lot of reasons. I'm the pause is because I'm processing through a lot of reasons, but I have a ridiculous excitement for taking a problem that like if there's been a lot of difficulty and in the past around it, it's just so inspiring. It's so pleasing to bring some creativity to it and fix a problem. Like when it comes to building, there's a major satisfaction to like you're coordinating with this team. You're seeing the challenges that our front end people are dealing with. Like I'll use the scan example. Like when it comes to understanding what might like where providers might be of certain specialties and things like that, and understanding what type of care might be available to seniors in the network. Well, there's some major gaps and challenges. Provider data accuracy is notoriously inaccurate and things like that. And like it was just so satisfying to work with that frontline team of people that were doing the research around this and know that they're on the other side. There are seniors who are like they have needs around like having an endocrinologist in network that they don't have to drive an hour and a half to see because 84 years old and might not be able to be on the road and stuff like that. So there is I'm excited about building, but to the purpose of knowing that we're solving an issue for people with deep needs. Like that honestly is a whole lot of fuel to why I might put in a 70-hour week sometimes.
Yeah, and so the solving of the problems is still what is driving you. The problems are still there.
The problems are still there, but I'm gonna be real too. Like, building is exciting too. When
Hmm.
like going through these iteration processes, finally realizing that an algorithm works, and you have your Frankenstein moment. It's alive. Like that all plays into it. I don't want to discount. Like, I don't want to, like. Of course, there's always the fact that, hey, I was able to put these efforts towards some good, but straight up, building is
The creating.
like, just like, yeah, just like playing music and stuff like that. It's a creative outlet.
I love it. And I see that work-life integration it holds.
Yeah, that's why you can't get me to like take on something that I don't really believe in.
Hmm.
What
Or I
about
was like a steady state world where you just keep the trains on time. I don't know that you'll love that unless there was something you could build a new system to keep the trains on time.
you got to have different type of talent for that. I appreciate the people that are doing that, and I will try to hand you off something that will be easy to manage.
I'll build your system and I will leave. Amazing.
And I'll throw that right back at you too.
What what areas do I like or what keeps me there?
Yeah. What's getting you excited about like what you're doing and what 2026 is going to look like?
Yeah. Okay. So this is how I've analyzed 2025 so far. 2025 was like a product market fit for me in terms of I tested different models, I sharpened the spaces that I want to play in. For me, 26 is more about scaling. It's like doubling down on the things that we're really, really good at, trying to gather maybe potentially a few more clients, maybe not, right? Because I think there's more people that want to join us and they would all like some more work to do. So, there will be a little bit of that. But 2026 for me is like, it is the total year of the horse. We really start to run even more. Like 2025 for me was a delightful, very happy year.
Wait, what animal is
2026,
2025?
the snake. It's
The
about
snake.
shedding.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about shedding what no longer serves you. And 2026 is the year of the horse, and it should be the year that things run. There's a
Well,
lot of astrology
I think
lovers in my
might be
ecosystem.
might be
Yeah,
repping that. Might be
yeah,
repping that with the thank you for inviting me to the quarter zip gang.
yeah.
With this, for people that can't see it, I'm wearing a nice fashionable stealth quarter zip.
Shh, don't talk about stuff. But I am very excited for like the events that we'll do. I think, we had such a great time at BHT and it was so productive. And I'm really excited to do that again and do a couple more. I've got a couple more speaking spots, hopefully one with you in February, which would be very exciting to chat about in a little bit. But, doing some more speaking and really scaling. And then should be the final thing, which will be on my 2026 whiteboard. I just got it yesterday. I'm going to put the whiteboard up in my little office. See, it's still wrapped, but I'm going to bring it on my little vacation with me at the end of the week and really work to kind of fill it out. So the first dimension I want to really focus on is a little bit more family fun. So it'll be, how can the family do things together, like at least one fun trip or adventure every month, right? And so that'll be like part one. And then part three for me, this is the year the building should open. And so yesterday I took my first meeting in the new building, the entrepreneur spot in Connecticut, which is going to be so fun. And we met with our contractor. And so that commercial real estate adventure is just another dimension I'm excited about bringing to life.
I can't wait for any of it. Like, people need to understand how real this is coming from you. Like when you say that, like, I didn't know that stealth was going to be blowing up as big as it was, like, on a boat at BHC. But we don't talk about stealth My bad. My bad.
I know.
But yeah, I'm just excited to be in the audience. Participating too. I mean, I have the quarter zip
I
too.
mean,
But
you're like hosting. So, I mean, I don't think you're in the audience. You're leading the charge. We were talking about it.
appreciate that. Well, on my end, 2026. I mean, you're a year, 2 years ahead of me in the build it yourself journey, and I think that April was like in April. That's when my role with Wobot ended, and we just decided let's prop up modular feedback, and that was a little bit of planning, a little bit, but then it was like a tidal wave of execution.
All the best things are.
Yeah. So that was extremely exciting, eye-opening, because I started the company with an overall charter to work directly with digital health innovators, because I felt like those were the people. Like, again, you heard me say it a little bit earlier. I like building things. I like going into the new and uncharted, and seeing where we can get gain from that. And I thought digital health innovators were the best way to be able to work on that. But now, having worked with Scan and seeing the motivations that drive others in these markets, I'm seeing that actually big companies, despite their flaws and all that, they can move fast and innovate as well. So I'm giving some space and appreciation for the people out in those companies who, even though, like Scan will tell you that, hey, we have a broken healthcare system and these institutions are a part of it, but there's an excitement in identifying the folks within these companies that are driving for change, that are open-minded, and that the status quo is just not good enough. So
they're there.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, for sure, you always can find the innovators. But it's, now I'd be curious your thoughts, but like compare it to your time at Wobot, right? What's your main difference? What's your observation? And then I'll let you finish your point.
Oh no, that's a good question. So it's all about, like, we talked about Josh Liu and his perspectives on like the long sales cycles and things like that. He's very right in that, like, it's not necessarily that they're moving, that these organizations, that these health systems and payers just inherently move slow. They might just not have the specific problem that you're aiming to solve. But when it came to this like provider data management challenge that Scan was wanting to address, they rallied the freaking troops. We were able to build out an entire software platform and data science platform for provider data in under 6 months. So, which
is amazing,
yeah.
Right? But you're still rallying a massive entity, right? So compare that to a Wobot, with the number of people you'd have, or an early stage company that might have 7 people. You could probably build out a data platform in what, like a month? Because you only have 7 people to like align.
You say that, but like, no matter how few people or how many people, it's about motivation and politics. So if you could be at a small company and have some seriously cool, seriously powerful innovation concept and all that, but there are a million reasons why it might get delayed, or death by 1,000 cuts and things like that. And that was the eye-opening thing to me, is like, of the startups and smaller companies that I've worked at, seeing a big, $5 billion health plan being able to shift and move when
when they want to.
Yeah, when the challenge called, it was like an eye opener that we should not be just on the outside saying, that these folks can only move slow. We know that healthcare can. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, and I was gonna say, I'm so glad you had that experience. I also want you to have the bad experience too, though, right? I mean, you almost got spoiled by this aligned fortuitous movement, right? Because I actually think you'd learn a ton when the fates are aligned, and everyone is marching towards, a target and that target achieves. You learn even more when they're not, because managing the politics in the $5 billion messy system, you will learn far more than you do when it all works out for the good. But I'm so glad you had that experience.
Well, that's something important to highlight for our founders and our fam out here, is that like a long sales cycle might be reflective of the fact that it's just not the problem of the day. But talk to me a little bit. What are some of the, like in a worse off scenario, like what are some of the drama points that people should also be aware of?
Oh,
I could talk to it a little bit, but
there's just so many. I mean, there's just so many. It's like selling the product that is not ready or not tech enabled enough, that is going to be, demanding, or you don't have enough ROI, and so the thing dies or doesn't make it through capital committee. Like, I love that you had such a great experience. That's unique. I mean, everything I'm hearing you talk about is not normal, Chris. That was just my only, warning shot. Like, don't expect that it can always happen. Like, maybe it will for you. Maybe you're just, that good of an arranger.
No. I'm going to say this because, if you're an institution that's been around for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years, like
my last one, 200
or 200
years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So you have been through several different technological paradigms, and perhaps like the current one isn't reflective of your operating practices and standards and things like that. So you do, like for the technologists and innovators out there, you do run into some major system integrations challenges. Like if something has worked for this company for decades, and all of a sudden there's some neophyte new person saying, hey, there's a different way of doing things, it's no fault to that team for not having the infrastructure around it and the backing around it. It's just that we need, you need to be able to alert the team to how a new approach might reduce risk. And I'm really emphasizing that point. Like if you're trying to bring something new and innovative, it's not fully about just hey, this is really cool technology, it has AI, blah blah blah. It's about reducing risk, doing things in a stable and repeatable way, doing things in a way that even like if they don't have that they don't want to have to hire a whole team to be able to manage your structure. So I painted it in that kind of Disney-esque way, like, hey, what's up? But I just want to make people aware of, like, hey, there's just legacy infrastructure that exists in all these places because something has worked well enough. But you have to identify the right strategy and right approach. Like when it comes to new technology, it's got to have value and it's got to reduce risk and increase stability in some kind of way. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, the organizations will be too risk averse, and sometimes rightfully so, to embrace the new approach
and really be consumable.
Yeah, that's my way of saying it.
I love
learning. I'm just hoping the fam gets some value out of that, and I don't want like the heavy hitters and innovators out there to get cold feet once they encounter their first like political issue or disagreement.
Yeah, I think you heard my I think you can hear it in my voice a little bit. While I am like personally excited for all the great things that I think are going to continue happening in 2026, I am not naive to not be able to read the tea leaves, right? Both on the headwinds, the tailwinds in the ecosystem right now, plus this emergence of like this explosion of ChatGPT and Claude and all of our different AI tool sets, right? So like that has become this front door, right? So if that is now the place everyone goes, I mean, including myself on my last caregiving journey, right? It is not like I dialed up, the Medicare Advantage homepage for my dad, and was like, oh, what should we do? Most of everything we encountered, we did through ChatGPT we did through like research and like who are the good doctors in the area and all these different things, right? And so um, if that is the other competing front door, but our traditional systems like the provider groups and the payers and the member still exists, right? And going back to our roads and our mapping analogy, right? So they're all on the map. They're all playing. And now there's this new tool that is driving a lot of this and changing the interactions, but it's not integrated into any of these existing ecosystems. Not like my chat GPT. I can email it, right, to my provider, or I can read it to my provider, but it's not integrated. It's not in the EMR yet, And so you've got like a bomb being thrown into this ecosystem that's changing everything. And I think that means that business cases have to be sharper. And I think innovators have to be more resilient. And so I do expect 26 to be a hard year in the payer world.
Yeah, it makes me recall this case. I don't remember the exact numbers, but someone was given a medical bill, and they ran it through, was it ChatGPT or was it Claude? I don't remember. But the outcome was they were able to reduce the bill by, I think that like it was a crushing, like we're talking tens of thousands of dollars, and they were able to reduce the bill by, I think, don't quote me on this, but I think more than 50% because of advice that it was able to collate and pull from a bunch of different sources and finally make accessible to that end consumer. So I'm 1,000,000,000% an advocate of take whatever path and route that you can to like if you're a consumer and you're having to compete, like you're there's a big information asymmetry, you're David versus Goliath when it comes to these institutions. So more stories like that proliferate, then
there's work to be done. I just think there's work to be done this year to pull cost and pull waste out of the system. And I think that's where we'll see a lot of the focus happening, right? As GPTs and algorithms change healthcare. So, I mean, modular should be busy.
Yeah. I discovery process this year, enjoying some of the use cases that we've come up with. One thing that's really interesting, I'm going to send the picture to Alyssa so she can share it on the screen, but I was just walking around Detroit the other day and I saw a big sign that said patients have a right to know the price of their care. So we'll flash, since you're already watching this on YouTube anyway, because of our emphatic support for Ben's photography that he was showing, we'll flash that picture on the screen. And just to see that, like to see that like graffitied on the side of a building about patients' rights to understand what they're paying, and then the work that we've done on price transparency this past year, like I really think the tides are changing, and we're hopefully doing something to address this big information asymmetry problem that we have with consumers of the healthcare and the whole system.
I think it makes companies like our friends over at Carius, who are doing a lot in the health literacy space, even more valuable. For sure. Because, I mean, part of the asymmetry problem is driven by people don't understand the words. But now with the GPTs, you can go in and you can get breakdowns and you can say, take this word and, translate it for me. And so I love that. I am excited to see how this all evolves.
Well, take the power back. Rage Against the Machine said it.
I have some, I probably have some pithy song lyric from Taylor Swift I can
Ooh,
add.
Yeah, I'd love to hear from the mastermind.
What if I told you none of this was accidental, Chris?
Ooh. That I like in your 2026 recap. What if I told you none of this was accidental? I think that would be a great way to open that.
Well, I do have a word for 2026. I think I sent it to you. Pronia. It's this belief. It's the opposite of paranoia, right? So if paranoia is like everything is conspiring against you, pronia, I'm not sure if I'm saying it the right way, is the belief that everything is working out in your favor. That's what I'm going to go into 2026 with.
I think you should. I think that is an accurate assessment because there are a lot of Melissa Riley fans out there, and they're conspiring to get you freaking out there and in the moment as you need it.
Oh, yes, that will be great. That'll be great. And we can share all of our amazing 26 adventures, the hikes, the pictures as we go through this journey. It's going to be amazing.
And kicking off that journey, what about the fuel, the pop culture fuel that's been in your life along the way as we've made this transition into the year?
Oh, interesting. Okay, so no shocker, I watched the Taylor Swift documentary. Fantastic over the break. And then I actually just started, I know I'm so late to the party, but I just, started the pit, and I was like, man, Noah Wiley, you have aged a little bit. I was like, ooh, peptides, Noah Wiley. But I mean, I think that's like, I loved it. I was like, I had to look away so many moments. And I was like, oh, I can't do this while I went to law school and not med school. But I loved it. It was so good. And I'm like, I'm only on episode 3, so I'll tell you more. Like, Taylor, mastermind, the pit, ugh, like, I have to like look away. What about
Alyssa,
you?
our producer, started it too. So
yeah.
That's cool. And Shay, my partner, and I, we watched it together. She's, for those that don't know, she's a 4th-year OB-GYN resident. So that means that, by September, like she'll be an attending physician. So woohoo on her.
Wow.
But yeah,
Such
Henry
a
Ford.
celebration. Yeah.
Yes. Henry Ford Health System safety net in Detroit, Michigan. And, she commented on how some things were like unrealistic, like those med students had more superpowers than you would expect an actual med student to have in the show. But ultimately loved the depiction. And she had been saying, Chris, I wish you could just spend some time in the OR of the operating room or spend some time on the floor and see what I'm doing every day. And she said that was like the closest look. She's a big fan of Scrubs and some of the other shows, but she said that was like the closest, most real look at what healthcare workers are going through.
I mean, for me, the Narcan and the fentanyl, like, it's just a moment. Yeah, like just a moment of how horrible, the drug scene still continues to be. I thank God for these miracle drugs like the Narcans, but,
And think also for like the acceptance of using them, having them available in public spaces. Even the barber down the street practices harm reduction for those who need it.
I love it.
I'm out here in Detroit.
And our healthcare heroes, like, man, healthcare workers are our heroes, and you can understand why they're living burnout when you watch that show. I mean, I'm on episode 3. It's only hour 3, and there's been like 85 things that have happened.
And that, yeah, for the pit fans out there, think about that, like a day that intense, 2-3 times a week, etc.
Yeah. Talk about needing to go spend some time in nature and take some pictures, But, it's a novel adventure that my dopamine signals were like, ooh, exciting. I should go to the ER.
Let me get in there.
Yeah, let me get in there. Well, as we get into 2026, I am so glad to be on this journey adventure with you. It is like the highlight of my week to get to be Chris's podcast co-host.
Same dang here, and let's put it on the table. Y'all hadn't heard from us for a minute before the previous episode, but
we were
back
on Christmas break.
Yeah. The injection of hope to like deal with these tumultuous times. Expect more of us. I want to post so much that it annoys people. So
and whiteboards. Yeah.
Yes.
And whiteboard. Actually, it's so funny. I ran into someone. They're like, "You're everywhere," and I was like, "Really?" Alyssa's been doing a good job.
Yeah. Because I hadn't posted on LinkedIn in over a month until yesterday, and yeah,
I was giving people a break. Let them reclaim their algorithm from me.
Yeah. All right, folks, reclaim your 2026. Let us know what your plans are, goals, anything. Like, just hop in the Discord. Discord.
Why do you stay in care?
Yeah.
Where are you going to be this year?
What do you
Would
want
you
to do
like to
when you
hike
grow
with
up?
us?
Ooh, yeah. Get the word out on the hike at JPM. Yes.
Amazing. All right,
Always good.
friends.
And see y'all next week, fam.